They said love made people soft. In Evelyn Hart's case, love made her patient. 7 years ago, she had loved Julian Moreau with a devotion that felt holy. He had been a rising architect. Then, brilliant, charming, endlessly ambitious. He told her she was his muse, his forever. She believed him, because love often sounds like truth when whispered, late at night. Then one morning, he left. No note, no apology, just an email transferring the apartment lease solely into her name, along with his debt. Evelyn didn't cry in front of anyone. She simply disappeared. Now, 7 years later, Julian was famous. His name dominated magazines. His designs reshaped skylines. He was the man everyone wanted to trust. Investors praised his integrity. Women praised his devotion, especially to his fiancée, Cassandra Vail, an art curator with a pristine reputation. None of them knew Evelyn Hart was standing in the back row of his biggest career moment yet. The gala buzzed with champagne and hollow laughter as Julian stepped onto the stage to accept the city's highest architectural honor. Evelyn watched him the way a chess player watches the board, quiet, calculating, certain. She applauded at the right moment. Julian's eyes landed on her just before he began his speech. For the briefest second, his confident smile cracked. Recognition is a dangerous thing. Later that night, his assistant announced a surprise guest, an independent historical consultant hired to authenticate Julian's newest luxury housing project, built on a site rumored to contain protected landmarks. Evelyn Hart walked onto the stage. Her black dress was elegant. Her voice was calm. Her resume flawless. Julian felt the room tilt. She spoke professionally, explaining her role. Not once did she acknowledge their past. Not publicly. Not yet. But every word she spoke wrapped around him like a slow tightening grip. Over the next weeks, Evelyn became essential to Julian's work. She praised his vision, supported his ideas, gained his trust with ease that disturbed him deeply. At night, Julian couldn't sleep. At night, Evelyn slept perfectly. One evening, after a long meeting, Julian finally asked the question, trembling inside him. "Why are you here, Evelyn?" She smiled softly. "Because you asked for the best." It was true. She was the best. And she was lying. What Julian didn't know was that Evelyn had spent years preparing. She had studied law, history, finance. She learned where rules bent and where they broke. She learned how men like Julian cut corners, and how easily those corners collapsed under scrutiny. Her report was submitted, quietly, officially, legally. It proved the land Julian had built on was protected. More than that, it proved he had known. Emails surfaced. Signatures reappeared. Financial trails connected, like constellations. Julian was summoned. Before he could stop it, the world that once celebrated him now sharpened its knives. Cassandra left him within days. Investors vanished overnight. His contracts dissolved like smoke. And still, Evelyn waited. She visited him only once, when his penthouse stood half empty and his name meant nothing. "I loved you," she said calmly, looking around the room he no longer owned. Not carelessly, not briefly. "I loved you completely." Julian looked shattered. "If this is revenge," he whispered, "you win." Evelyn shook her head. "No, Julian." She stepped closer. "This isn't revenge. Revenge is emotional. This is closure." She placed one final document on the table, evidence that cleared her of every accusation he'd once whispered about her, lies he'd spread to protect his image. Her reputation restored. His, gone, forever. As she turned to leave, Julian realized the cruelest truth of all. She had never raised her voice, never begged, never punished him with hate. She had loved him enough to destroy only what he became. And that was worse. Outside, the city lights glowed in forgiveness she no longer needed. Evelyn Hart walked away lighter. Because the darkest revenge is not rage, it is patience, worn beautifully by someone who once loved you.